What's up, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers, and of course, social media world? Welcome to the video feed for episode 25 of Common Sense Sundays with me, the one and only Sean O'Rourke, and of course, go tell it to the wall. We had a week off, and we're going to be a little content heavy today. And obviously, if you're, I want to say if you're in the United States, it's very exciting, but honestly, it could kind of go either way. Not either way, but it seems that we've had a worldwide celebration over the past 24 hours or so. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and kind of close the book on 4 years of unnecessary politics being discussed on this podcast. So that being said, let's get into episode 25.
Who 1, 2, 3, go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall. Go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall.
All right, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers. Welcome to episode 25 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, of course, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. We've got some extra excitement in the studio today, but before we get to that, we always kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us during episodes, after episodes, before episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that at multiple locations. One of those would be facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. That's our official Facebook page. Make sure you are connected to that page. That's going to keep you up to date on all new content coming out of Go Tell It to the Wall, and of course, Common Sense Sundays and Sean O'Rourke Live. Don't forget our YouTube channel. Head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe. That's where you're going to find all of our videos. We post the video feeds onto Facebook, but they also go up onto YouTube like a day after we actually record, and so you'll find those up there. But also our beer reviews. We've had some new beer reviews going up recently. All of our music reviews, all kinds of stuff up there. So make sure you're subscribed to that and turn on notifications so that you know what's going on here. And what am I missing? Oh yeah, no, that would be my Instagram account, SoCal Sean. Utilizing it a little more, I guess, and trying to get some more Go Tell It to the Wall content up there. But it's just, I don't know. I'm not a huge social media user in general. I do use a lot of Facebook, and that's keeping in touch with friends and kind of up to date with music stuff. But not a huge, just not a huge social media user in general. Except for news stuff. The past week or so, I've been on social media just a little bit, catching up with the news, keeping track of some things, all that good stuff. And of course, don't forget our website, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Again, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That is your one-stop shop for everything that is Go Tell It to the Wall and everything that is Sean O'Rourke Live. You're going to find links to all those things I just mentioned. You're also going to find other stuff up there that you don't find anywhere else, including our Patreon campaign. If you have the means to do so, please help us out financially. Every dollar helps to keep the studio running. And, of course, our merch page, which you can link directly from SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Hop on there, get yourself a mug, a T-shirt, sweatshirt, whatever you're into. The weather's getting cold. I think it's getting cold everywhere. I've seen snow a little bit around the country, and here in Los Angeles, we're not cracking 60 degrees today. It's cloudy, it's windy. We had some rain yesterday. We finally moved into fall, so maybe pick yourself up a Go Tell It to the Wall sweatshirt. Keep yourself warm during this fall season. And, of course, it's just going to get colder, especially depending on where you are. I'm like, we're not cracking 60 degrees. That's cold for Los Angeles. Just, like, we do get cold here. We get into the, sometimes even the 30s overnight. But usually during the day, when we're not cracking 60, that's you don't have that big fluctuation, which is something that's not all like an everyday thing here in Los Angeles. So it's just, and I enjoy it. I love the cloudy fall weather, but some people are probably just like, what is going on here? People that enjoy the heat, I guess. So all of that being said, I want to take a moment and talk a little bit about the events of this past week before we move on to some digital trends and our usual topics. For those of you that have been living under a rock the past week or so, especially the past 24 hours, we have a new president-elect here in the United States of America. Now, I am not particularly a Biden supporter. I don't dislike the man. I don't like him. But it is definitely a step forward from the orange buffoon that we've had in there the past 4 years. And for those of you that aren't familiar with kind of the timing of Go Tell It to the Wall, Go Tell It to the Wall was started in October of 2016. And when we started this podcast, there was going to be no political talk. It's just not something that I am educated enough to even discuss, really. You know, once and obviously there's obvious exceptions. I always said we're going to use common sense when it's necessary. But then about a month after we started the podcast, we had a presidential election, and that orange menace was unfortunately elected. And because of that, we spent time discussing that the past 4 years. Most times it involved, you know, social issues, social justice, and that's still going to happen, but I am just incredibly happy to kind of retire at least that part of the podcast arc, for lack of a better word. And I will say, as much as I'm not a huge Biden fan, it is amazing to just see some dignity back in that office, and that really, it's all we can ask for is just some dignity at this point, and we're finally going to have that here in the U.S. And I know I kicked off the video feed by discussing it a little bit. It's not even just the U.S. We saw yesterday when the election was called by all the major media outlets. There were celebrations around the world. There were fireworks going off in London. There were bells tolling from bell towers in Paris. This was not just a United States thing. That's how much of an embarrassment the Orange Menace was to this country. I'm not even talking about policy or anything else. Just the way that he carried himself was an embarrassment. And now we finally have some dignity back to the office of president here in the United States of America. And I'm just incredibly happy. I'm just incredibly happy that we don't have to hear him, see these ridiculous rallies, and even more importantly, we're going to move forward on COVID, and we're going to talk a little bit about COVID as we usually do with Common Sense Sundays, but I did want to take a moment to talk about that. We could also play a game for this particular episode. What's in Sean's mug? Is it water? Is it coffee? Is it whiskey? I don't know. I am also a little bit hungover from the past few days. I spent, not heavily drinking, but I spent a few days drinking and staring at a television and refreshing like my news feeds on my phone. My phone was very unhappy with me this week. It was basically like, you're done. No. I felt like it was going to give up on me around Thursday, but we got through it somehow, and here we are. So I'll admit I might be a little hungover. This is from enjoying this, just what's happening here, and just we can move forward as a country, and I'm incredibly happy for that. And I think the world can now move forward just from this absolute buffoon that we've had in the White House, and I'm looking forward to that. All right, digital trends. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek. That is obviously all over the social feeds right now. Alex Trebek passed away this morning. He'd been battling cancer for a long time. He passed away at the age of 80 years old. And it's amazing. I knew he had a lot of respect, kind of, fan bases and everything else. But really, it's crazy to see the outpouring of emotion from people who are really have really been connected to Jeopardy over the years. I was never a big Jeopardy watcher. It was one of those, like, I watched it on occasion, but never a huge Jeopardy watcher. I'm also not a big game show watcher in general. It's just not. When I was a kid, I watched some Double Dare on Nickelodeon, but outside of that, I just don't watch a lot of game shows. Not my thing. But that doesn't mean like I'm not an expert on anything. No, everybody should take my entertainment opinions with a grain of salt because I'm not an expert by any means. But it was amazing to see this outpouring of people that felt a connection to Jeopardy and to Alex Trebek. People even talking about how they learned to read and write English from Jeopardy, stuff like that. It's just amazing. Memories of people watching Jeopardy with their family, whatever it might be. So rest in peace, Alex Trebek. We obviously going to be missed, and just it's nice to just see this outpouring. And unfortunately, he is gone, but gone but not forgotten, because he obviously had an impact on so many people's lives throughout. He set a record for hosting a game show, I believe. He hosted it for like 40 years, something crazy. Like the longevity of that man was absolutely amazing, and he was still hosting it. Probably still would have been if not for cancer, unfortunately. All right. Well, the elections are of course dominating the digital platforms right now. People are celebrating and complaining. It's both sides. I have just been ignoring everything, like some celebrating or whatever, because Here's the thing for me. I am fully well aware that we have a long way to go. This didn't fix everything. We're still in COVID. The economy still needs to get kickstarted back up here once everyone can get back to work and once we can get through COVID. This is not a finish line. This is actually a starting line. We're just at the correct starting line now. That's what we've done is we've righted the ship a little bit, but that ship still has a long way to go. And everyone should keep fighting. And I'm talking about fighting in the normal way. These lawsuits need to just stop because, I mean, we've had lawyers coming out, people from the Republican Party saying, why are we doing this? Why are these lawsuits happening? But nonetheless, we have to let that play out. But we all know where this country is headed as far as our leadership. We're just gonna have to see where it goes from here. We're nowhere near it. But of course, that is dominating the digital platforms as well as certain things that I found funny, like the Four Seasons Landscaping Company. Is that what it was? No, Four Seasons Total Landscaping. Four Seasons Total Landscaping. If you're not familiar with this one, the president called a press conference yesterday, and people thought it was going to be at the Four Seasons Hotel there in Philadelphia. I believe it was going to be in Philadelphia. They were in the Philadelphia area. That's where Giuliani's been out there spouting conspiracy theories. Turns out it was actually at a landscaping company called Four Seasons Total Landscaping. And it was just so perfect to see this and then to see people just take it and run. The embarrassment of just standing outside a landscaping company next to a sex shop in a very small, dingy parking lot to hold a press conference for the sitting president of the United States of America. This is just the world we live in now. And this is what I'm talking about when I say the dignity being brought back to it. I'm not even talking Republican Democrat here. We can talk a lot about people that enabled him over the last 4 years, but I'm not even talking about that. It's the dignity. We're probably not going to have presidential press conferences at the Four Seasons Total Landscaping from here on out. I just don't see this. And you literally can't write this stuff. If you came with a script to a producer in Hollywood and said, oh, yeah, Four Seasons Total Landscaping, they'd be like, that's crazy. That would never happen. Well, it happened. All right, a couple of these fun ones one fun one and one serious one. Hashtag Beerstagram. Hashtag Beerstagram. This is something I can't believe I wasn't familiar with, and I don't know if it's even new. I didn't investigate, it could be kind of a new thing, but if it's not a new thing, I'm a little upset at myself for not being aware of this. As much as I don't love social platforms, this hashtag, essentially people are sharing beers that they enjoy. So it's kind of like scrolling through the, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the app. I use it. Untapped, where you can track your beers, and it has a social aspect to it, but I always like it because I only have like 5 friends on there, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try that beer, or it'll have like beer recommendations, or I can look up, oh, I like that beer before, I'm gonna try it again, and that's this hashtag Beerstagram gonna be good for that if you're looking to try out some new beers, and we are definitely getting into stout season here. I'm looking forward to drinking some stouts. I'll drink stouts anytime, but especially when the weather gets colder and rainier, that is stout time. In fact, I think we're having some nice baked potato chowder in my house tonight for dinner. Just gonna warm the soul here with some soup because it's fall. It's fall. All right, hashtag UK lockdown. This one is serious, obviously. The UK has gone back into lockdown again. And my thoughts are with everyone over there. I have quite a few friends in the UK, as you know, as we've discussed. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough month, but it sucks. And I laugh like that because like people are embarrassed of the leadership in the UK right now. At least he has the sense to announce a lockdown, to actually hit this virus head on, and that's not something we've seen at all in this country. Not from a federal level. None of that has happened. Outside of silly press conferences saying, oh, we're going to do that, none. This is actual concrete stuff. So it sucks for the UK, but in the end, it's going to be worth it, especially if they're trying to get everything back to normal for Christmas. Wish we could do that here, but unfortunately, that's past for us here. Like, we're done. We're in it for a while, and there's just nothing else we can do. And actually, I forgot about that note. Although when we get into COVID updates here, there was some news from Fauci that seems promising. All right, here's something new I want to do moving forward, and especially because we're getting rid of so much of this election stuff, and I'm done talking about the Orange Menace and everything, and I'm sure there'll be a couple more mentions of him as he's dragged kicking and screaming out of the Oval Office, but, I'm done. We're not even going to do it anymore. It makes me want to throw up. But what I am doing is we're going to add at least one just straight up positive news story from now on to Common Sense Sundays. Why? Because that's common sense. And I'm really excited about this first one that we're going to kick off, this positive news story. It warms your heart, and it has a special place for me simply because of the nature of what's happening. And that would be a young man. I believe he was 21. I didn't write his age down here, but he was a young man, Chris Nikich. Chris Nikich. He is a triathlete. He actually just yesterday, in Florida, completed the Florida Ironman. Young man, Chris Nikich. And the reason this is a big deal and the reason this is positive news, he is the first person with Down syndrome. He's the very first Ironman with Down syndrome to finish an Ironman race. If you're not familiar with Ironman, that is the longest triathlon race. I'm a triathlete. I've yet to do an Ironman. It's very difficult. He is the first person with Down syndrome to finish an Ironman. And for those of you not familiar, an Ironman the distance is a 2-mile swim, ocean swim. It is a 118-mile bike ride, and then a 26.2-mile run. For those of you familiar with running distances, 26.2, that is a marathon. A lot of people train for like a year, and it's a big thing to do a marathon. That's 1/3 of an Ironman triathlon. And here we have, again, Chris Nikich finishing the Ironman, and the first person ever to do it, first person with Down syndrome ever to finish. This is an absolute inspiration to me. And I love triathlons. I think it's a fantastic sport. It's a very addictive sport. I have friends that got into it, and I could see, like, after I did, and I could see them getting addicted as well. You definitely need some time and some money to do it because there's expensive gear, and the reason I haven't raced in 3 years is because I have a 3-year-old. So it is tough, but I love triathlon, and this is such an amazing story to see an individual who took the time to do this and hopefully is inspiring other people. Maybe other people with special needs will now get into triathlon, but even beyond that, maybe it's going to inspire people. You sit there and say, I could never do that. I could never do that. And then you see, and I've seen this at races myself, amputees and such there's a whole organization called the Challenged Athletes team, but it's a Challenged Athletes organization of sorts, and they do triathlons and races and stuff, and you see that and you're like, well, shit, I am very able-bodied. I don't have an excuse anymore. So good on you, Chris Nikich. I'll be following you. Hopefully we'll see another race out of you, and if you're interested, check out USA Triathlon. Just follow them on the socials, and that's going to kind of get your beak wet as far as the sport of triathlon, which is just fantastic sport. It's for crazy people. I remember a race I did a few years ago out in Palm Springs. It was December, and we were getting up at 4 a.m, and I was doing it with some people I'd raced with at Disney. I remember one of the guys were like getting up blurry-eyed and like, all right, time to go race. And he looks at me and he goes, are we crazy for doing this? I mean, you got to be crazy to get up at 4 a.m. and just go put your body through hell. And I was like, yeah, no, we're crazy. But then you get that feeling at the end, and you realize that's why you're doing it. It's that feeling of accomplishment. All right, COVID updates. Outbreaks galore. Big increases. Likely to get worse. We are now hitting 100,000 cases a day. Months ago, Anthony Fauci said, we're going to hit 100,000 cases a day. And everyone was like, that's nuts. We've done it a few times now over the past few days. So unfortunately, we are nowhere near done. And I will tell you, it's starting to come home to roost a little bit. I'll be honest. I am not in quarantine right now, but I am watching closely because there is a possibility that I have been in contact with someone who was in contact with someone who was in contact with someone that possibly has had a positive test. And this is with me basically not leaving the house for 8 months. This is not something to joke about. And then on top of that, if you follow Punk Rock Saves Lives, which you should, we good friends, we promote them a lot. It's a great organization. If you follow Punk Rock Saves Lives, you would notice that the head of Punk Rock Saves Lives, Rob, was actually diagnosed this past week with COVID. Ended up in the hospital. They couldn't get his blood oxygen levels correct. He spent some time in the hospital. Fortunately, was sent home with an oxygen tank. Still not completely out of the woods, but doing much better and not actually in the hospital. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. It's something that needs to be taken seriously. And once you see someone that you know whether personally or just, as an acquaintance, once you see that, it ramps that up even more, and you're saying, no, it's not a joke. It can come to get you. And in fact, see, we didn't have an episode last week. I was taking care of my mental health with the election coming up. So we haven't talked. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers on winning the World Series. They won the World Series between this episode and our last episode. So congratulations to the city of Los Angeles. Congratulations to all my friends, especially Kevin Jones, who is a big supporter of Go Tell It to the Wall, finally getting another World Series for him. He was younger in 1988, so this is really his first one as an adult, so congrats, Kevin, and everyone else out there who's a Dodgers fan. I'm a bit of a Dodgers fan myself, as long as they're not playing the Red Sox. I will say two things that came out of this, though, and that's why it's in COVID updates. Justin Turner, who's one of the best-known players for the Dodgers, fantastic player, all-around good guy, too, from what you can see and hear when people talk about him, was actually during the sixth game, the final game of the World Series, had found out he had a positive test. They pulled him off the field. It was very confusing. I was watching the game listening on the radio, and they said, "Oh, Justin Turner's out of the game, and new player at third base." And I can't remember who came in for him, but it was like, "Why is Turner coming out of the game?" We go on later to find out that he had a positive test. Dodgers go on to win that game, and he's supposed to be isolated. Ends up coming out onto the field. I'm not here to chide Justin Turner. What I'm saying is how easily that can just start to spread. And now, since then, we found out that 7 other people within the Dodgers organization have come down with positive tests. And on top of that, the city just went absolutely nuts. It's funny. I knew it before, but it was absolutely confirmed because the Lakers won a championship a few weeks ago. There were some fireworks and everything else. I told you, my kid was like, more fireworks, more fireworks. When the Dodgers won, holy shit. It was bombs over Baghdad here. For those of you that remember, this is not a war reference. This is a song reference. Please don't come at me like bombs. No, it's a song reference. It was like bombs over Baghdad here in Highland Park, and really all over Los Angeles. It was nuts. My kid was not. She wanted more fireworks for the Lakers, less fireworks for the Dodgers. And of course, people are out celebrating and everything and getting in close proximity to each other. It's the same thing with the election yesterday. People out celebrating, fully support celebrating. Don't get in close proximity to other people. This is what's keeping us in this all the time. I'm all for celebrating, but celebrate from your front porch. Bang some pots, do whatever. Just be smart about it. And unfortunately, the Justin Turner story overshadowed the win a little bit, but we have gotten some closure since then. The MLB came out and said, you know what, it's not really Justin Turner's fault. He thought he was able to go back out onto the field. And while this was happening, part of me said he was in the game with all these players. Like, he was on the bench high-fiving everyone in the dugout. Like, I don't know. I still think it's just not smart. Let's be safe, but it's one of those tough ones. I will say this one, there's just no question this was not smart. Notre Dame, and without getting too much into sports here, Notre Dame, the college, they're ranked really highly in football this year. Still playing college football. It's not going well. Lots of teams have had issues. Notre Dame had issues early on with their entire school. They had issues with the COVID outbreak. Well, they played a game yesterday against Clemson, who is the number 1 ranked team in the country. It's not important. It's not important for anyone out there that doesn't care about sports. But it's a big matchup. The game happened in South Bend at Notre Dame in the stadium. Now they have minimal attendance in the stadium. It's not a packed stadium no. I don't think anyone's doing a full stadium in this entire country, thankfully. But what happened was they won in overtime. And what happens in college a lot of times when it's not COVID is a big win like that, and students just rush the field, and I could see it. I'm watching the game, because it was a nice, fun game to watch. Watching the game, and I could see as soon as Notre Dame won, I went, oh, shit, here it comes. And you could see the students just, and the field just covered with students. All shoulder to shoulder, right on top of each other, right on top of the players from Notre Dame, and right next to the players from Clemson, who Notre Dame had just defeated. Not smart. It's just not. I get that you want to celebrate. But I guarantee there's going to be another outbreak at Notre Dame now. It's a guarantee. It's coming. It's just a matter of time. We have incredible numbers here in Los Angeles where, compared to other parts of the country, they're doing so much more to mitigate the spread of COVID. And we're still getting massive numbers here. That's the problem. We're never going to get through it. And in fact, we're seeing it everywhere. The Witcher, which I've become a bit of a fan of, it's a Netflix show. They are trying to shoot season 2. They've been shooting season 2 for a little while. They've been shut down a couple times because of COVID outbreaks. They just had another COVID outbreak, had a bunch of positive, not a bunch. They had a few positive tests within their crew. They had to shut down filming for a while. Fortunately, for the production, none of the stars of the show have come down with a positive test. And do not take that the wrong way. I don't mean like, oh, thank God the stars didn't get it. What I mean is that would completely shut down production for, like 2 weeks while Henry Cavill goes through quarantine and everything else. Whereas someone on a crew, you can bring in someone else, at least in the interim, until that crew member gets better. So they're going to get back to shooting. They've also run into problems because that film, it's not a film, that show is actually shot in the UK, and because of lockdown, they've been forced to move some of their production, which they're going through right now. Again, I don't know that any of this is worth it as much as I would love to see some new Witcher episodes. However, they are doing a good job. I know a lot of productions are doing a fantastic job as they're moving forward with their testing and with their safety protocols. So that is a positive side to it. And one more thing before we move on. We've actually gotten some positive notes from Dr. Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is basically the expert that we've been following for months now with COVID. And it's not a definite, like, no, we're going to get there. But he's cautiously optimistic that we're moving forward with some good vaccines and that we could possibly have a working vaccine in the next couple of months. Not a guarantee, but he's being positive here. So that could be a positive side of things and kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. Which I would love to start seeing that light, because I just don't know where the hell it's coming from, because we can't seem to get shit under control in this country, really around the world, but especially in the U.S. Jesus. Hopefully we'll move forward a little bit as of January 20th, but we still got to sit in this with the orange one sitting there in the White House until January 20th, so it's just a little bit of ridiculousness. All right, mental health. I just want to talk briefly about mental health, because I know a lot of people this past week have had an emotional weight lifted off of their shoulders, myself included. But I'm a middle-aged, middle-class white man. I experience white privilege. We've talked about it so many times here on the podcast. It's just, I have it. I have white privilege. So the emotional weight lift off of my shoulders is nothing compared to so many other people out there. Same-sex couples, the LGBTQ community, minorities, people of color, all getting hit so much worse. So if you feel that weight off your shoulders, that's good to revel in that for a moment. Also, keep in mind we still have a lot of work to do, but also think of others, like the amount of weight that has come off of their shoulders, the relief that we no longer have someone that hateful who wants to just blatantly take away their rights, support white supremacy. That is a huge weight lifted off your shoulders. There's the other side of things, too. Because I've seen it the past 24 hours, people coming out and saying, have compassion. Remember how you felt in 2016. Have compassion. I would get that to an extent. If this was a normal race, a normal election, maybe. But we are talking about supporters, a party, and an individual who spent 4 years saying, fuck your feelings. 4 years of fuck your feelings. So at this point, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. Give them time. Fuck your feelings. What time? What time? Did we have time? No. So don't feel bad. They'll be fine. The majority of people who voted for Trump, the Orange Menace, probably also have white privilege. They're going to be fine. Don't let it ravage your mental health, feeling bad for people who spent no time feeling bad for you the past 4 years. That's really what it comes down to. You want to have some empathy, that's fine. But don't do it because someone's telling you to. Don't do it because an orange person who lives in the White House spent 4 years just gaslighting everybody. He doesn't deserve our compassion. No. It's your right to give it if you'd like, but don't feel bad because you're not. Because you know why? Fuck their feelings. All right, parenting. Oh, man. Happy birthday to my kiddo. Happy birthday. Her birthday's Wednesday, Veterans Day, 11/11, November 11th. Yep, we are a week apart. We're both Scorpios, and you can tell in my house quite a bit at times. She's definitely my daughter. She's very much my wife's daughter, too. It's amazing, like, seeing the combination of the both of us in my kid. But she's turning 4 this week. I hate dwelling on the time goes by. Everyone else, it goes so fast. Like, fuck you, Karen. I know it goes fast. I'm living it. I see it. Don't remind me and make me sad. So I'm not going to sit here and dwell on that. But I just want to give a big happy birthday to my kiddo, who is going to be 4 this week. And I think we're going to have some drive-by happy birthday wishes. I know those are coming likely on Wednesday, and it's been tough because she wants to celebrate with her friends. I mentioned this on the last episode, but unfortunately we can't. But I did tell my daughter, I told her yesterday, because she was like, I want my friends to come over. I want to have a party, And don't get me wrong, she's not spoiled. This is just very much, she's used to it. We have a big party for her birthday. She sees her friends, and like friends, grandparents, everybody, aunts, uncles. Not going to happen this year, but I did promise her as soon as it's safe, as soon as and this is the thing, my wife and I both say, the doctors and scientists tell us we need to do this. The doctors and scientists haven't said it's safe yet. So I said, as soon as the doctors and scientists say it's safe, we're going to have a party. And I promised her, I said, I don't care when it is, we're having a party. And it can be your party, and it could be months from now, but it's going to be your party, and we're having one, and don't worry about it. Until then, drive-by birthday greetings. And presents being sent. I know there's presents coming from grandparents, like literally on the way right now. So there's that too, but of course. And I want to talk, the reason I put this into parenting, politics aside, I want to give a huge congratulations, obviously to Joe Biden, but even more to Kamala Harris. And I don't want to, we're not going to talk about policies and her political past and everything else. The reason this is a huge congratulations from me, and really should be from everyone out there who's a parent, especially if you're a girl dad like myself, or you have a daughter at home. I was watching that speech last night, and when Kamala came out, my daughter sat on my lap, and I explained to her. I said, "See this? This is the first woman vice president ever to be elected in this country." And I was incredibly proud. And I could, even at 3 years old, I could see she went, "Wow," because they understand. I hate the whole female-fronted punk band like moniker, because it's like, okay, no, they're, and you could, like, I love so many bands that are female-fronted. Like, to me, they're punk bands, but at the same time, there's also that side of, and I can see it in my kid. She definitely gravitates a little more toward female singers because she can see herself, and that's what so many little girls across the country and around. Well, I don't know about around the world because we've had female leaders in other countries, but especially in this country, they're now looking at this inspiration. They're seeing themselves. They're seeing a female up there, not just an old gray-haired white man. There's nothing wrong with being an old gray-haired white man, but little girls don't see themselves in that. And now all these young girls, young ladies, young women around the country are seeing that it's possible. They're seeing it right in front of their faces on television. And not only a female, not only a woman, but a woman of color. And I can't tell you, like, for me, it was one thing. I said, thank God, here's something. My daughter can see a female up there. She can be inspired. I don't care about the policies. Yes, we can talk about that, but I'm not going to talk about that on this podcast from a parenting standpoint. I just want to talk about how it's inspiring. But for me, that feeling, it's got to be even more for anyone out there who is a person of color or has kids of color, especially daughters, but even sons. I mean, we had Obama, but we're seeing more of it now. They're seeing themselves up there and know that they can now achieve that. You always say you can be whatever you want to be, but it's tough when all you see is the same thing over and over and over again. We're seeing something different now. And I think it's absolutely amazing. Policies aside, it's going to be great to see what happens, and I'm just going to love seeing that wonder in my daughter's eyes by seeing female leadership out there like this. It's a great time to be a parent of kids in general, but especially daughters. They're going to see this. They're going to see this for at least 4 years. Second most powerful person in this country is a female and a woman of color. All right. We didn't talk about, I got to say, gosh, I've had this one thing for multiple episodes, and I'm just going to save it again because we're running short on time, and I knew this would happen because we didn't have an episode last week, and we're always going over on time, and we're already over time, and I got so much more to talk about, and I need a little water. Or is it whiskey? You'll never know. Oh, man. Little hair of the dog? No. Not. It's actually water, I'll be honest. Halloween. That came and went. We had our Halloween episode, of course, but I want to talk about from a parenting perspective. I had mentioned that we bought my daughter a very nice Rapunzel costume. Like, had the the dress and some, like, I don't know what, it had jewelry with it and a crown and a funky little long hair thing. And I even bought her one of those Pascal, who's the lizard from Tangled that sits on the shoulder. And she doesn't sit it on her shoulder. It's basically just a little stuffed animal of hers now. But what happened was Halloween morning, we got up and some friends of ours were doing a virtual dance party, like over Zoom. I'm sure it was Zoom. It was one of those. My wife was handling it. I was watching the kids dance around, and my daughter was dancing around. So, my wife says, "Hey, do you want to put your costume on?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's go put on a costume." She's like, "I want to be a tiger." But what about you? And she picked the Rapunzel costume. But you have this Rapunzel costume. No. I want to be a tiger. Oh, okay. Thankfully, and it helps that this is a burner household where we can kind of pull costumes together on the fly. Thankfully, we had a tiger tail, tiger ears, and a tiger dress. Yes, we had all these things for her to put on. And my wife painted whiskers and a nose on her, like little face paint. And she loved it. But it was one of those things. And it was funny because I'm just going, this has to be a normal thing. And sure enough, some other, we had posted like, well, last minute Halloween costume change. And a friend of my wife's, but friend of mine too, but my wife's known her longer, has multiple kids. And like both her kids were like, no, we don't want to. And they coordinated a whole group costume and stuff. No, we're not going to. And then totally went with like previous year costumes. So I was like, okay, yeah, no, that sounds about right. 3-year-olds don't know what the hell they want these days. It's just crazy. All right, I'm going to save that. I got a little rant that I want to rant about. We haven't really done weekly rants. I even have we had a whole rant playlist, and we haven't done that in a while because it's Common Sense Sundays, and we've kept it a little lighter. We have not kept it lighter. We just haven't had the rants in there. I think it's just too early in the day for me to be ranting. This is like a Sunday, early afternoon thing when I'm actually recording. I'm like, I don't have the energy for ranting right now. When it was Thursday nights was Go Tell It to the Wall, at that point I'm just full of piss and vinegar. I'm like, all right, what am I going to yell about tonight? And then I yell about something for 10 minutes and nobody cares, and then we move on. So that weekly rant's good stuff. All right, entertainment news. New Chromecast. For those of you out there that are in the market for a new streaming device, I picked up the brand new Chromecast that just got released. Ordered it straight through Google. There's not a lot of deals on them, but I will say if you're a Google One user, which is cloud storage through Google, you actually get a little cash back toward your Google One subscription. So it was basically like $1.50 cash back or something, or $3 cash back that I got on this. But I was in the market. My house, we were in the market for a new streaming device. Our Apple TV was 7 years old. Got the thing in 2013. It was, it didn't even have all the apps on it like that we needed. So it's like, fine, $50. Let's just order one. And pleasantly surprised. So if you're in the market for a new one, I don't know if it's something you want to, if you're happy with your streaming device, just wait until you need a new one, then maybe get one. But I will say one of the coolest things about it is it has a multi-search with voice. And it's such a silly thing, but there'd be times where I'm sitting on the couch and not even necessarily looking to watch something right away, but I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that movie. I wonder if we can, stream it somewhere without paying to rent it or buy it. And so I'd go through and I'd be like, Netflix, no. Hulu, no. Amazon Prime, no. HBO, no. Or yes, or one of them had yes. Now with the new Google Chromecast, you can, and my wife did it last night to look for Monster Squad, which we have on DVD, but just stream it instead of pulling out the DVD and putting it in the DVD player. And she goes, she said, I'm not going to say the word because if you have a Google device at home, they're going to say it. But she says the command and then asks for Monster Squad. And sure enough, it pulls it up. And not only pulls it up, but it pulls up all the different places you can stream it. So instead of searching each streaming platform, it's got it right there for you. Super lazy thing, I know, but just a nice feature for a $50 streaming device. Highly recommend that one if you're in the market for it. I do need to backtrack a little bit. But I'm also going to complain a little bit. YouTube Music. I've been complaining about that for quite a while. Still not a huge fan, but I will say they are improving their user interface for people that have their owned music uploaded to it. You can actually download your own playlists now, which was not something that was included when it originally launched. So it's nice. It's nice to see that Google, because this is a Google platform, is improving things probably based on feedback. My complaint, though, is and it's not just Google. This happens with a lot of platforms when they move on to a new platform, whatever it might be. And Facebook's so guilty of it. They're just throwing stuff on top of their platform. Like, that doesn't work. Just throw another thing on top of it. So I get it. But it's always strange to me when they transition you to another platform from something and they didn't take the features from that platform to begin with. So Google Play Music, you were able to download your own playlist. Maybe let's just put that in the YouTube Music to begin with so you don't piss off a bunch of people that have to now use Google or YouTube Music. But on that note, like I said, it is getting slightly better. So I'm going to backtrack a little and say, okay, maybe it's going to get there. But for the love of God, just make it that way to begin with. I don't understand. I don't understand. All right, big shout out to Stupid Rad merch. I am currently wearing one of my Stupid Rad Scully t-shirts. That's right, for those of you watching the video feed or seeing the pictures. Really happy with this one. Shout out to Simeon of Stupid Rad merch. I've mentioned them before. I have quite a few things, but took advantage of their trick-or-treat deal. Got a couple t-shirts and a couple pins all just kind of bundled together, and I'm really excited about my pin. We'll definitely have it on a sweater when I'm in here with a sweater over the next few weeks, but it's a middle finger and just says "so what," and I was like, yeah, I'm down with this pin. That's going to be used quite a bit as long as I'm not around a bunch of kids, because they're like, what's that? And it's funny, I'm like pulling the pins out, and my kid's right there, and she's like, what's that? I was like, oh, just some pins. Let's put them to the side. But big fan of Stupid Rad. Check them out. Get yourself some Stupid Rad merch. I believe most of them are Bella Canvas, high quality shirts, great designs, and Simeon's a good dude. All these things together, get yourself some Stupid Rad merch, either specific to the bands or specific to Stupid Rad itself, because it's Stupid Rad. I know. All right, and the last thing I want to mention, Zombie Teeth Podcast. Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Podcast put out a new episode I believe it was last weekend. I lost a little bit of track because we didn't record last weekend. It was about a week ago. It was between the last episodes. A new Zombie Teeth Podcast episode with the great Jen Pop of the Bomb Pops. Jen Pop, big fan of Jen Pop, which I've spoken about here on the podcast. She literally recorded a hello message for my daughter because she found out my daughter was a fan. That was just over a year ago. No, just under a year ago that actually happened. So that's going to be popping up in my memories soon. That'll be nice. So check that one out. As always, check out Zombie Teeth. But, of course, we love the Bomb Pops here at Go Tell It to the Wall, so especially when you can get Jen Pop in there. Of course, every interview that Paul has done with Zombie Teeth Podcast has really been fantastic, so I highly recommend all of them. And I will say, for those of you that use Spotify, I don't use Spotify a lot, but I do use it for certain podcasts like Zombie Teeth. They just recently added a feature that you can cast directly to your Google devices. I don't know when exactly that was added, but I was not able to cast my Spotify to my Google speakers because I've got them like they're just all over the house because I have speakers and I have Nest Wi-Fi, like the Google, the Wi-Fi net mesh system that they have. So I have speakers everywhere, and I'm just just cast this here. So now that's available if you're someone that uses Spotify, really for anything, but specifically podcasts. That's what I do. I don't use Spotify for music. Rarely do I use it for music, just because I listen to my own music. That's how it's always been. Oh, and speaking of which, one more thing I'm going to mention, and especially because of the Philadelphia connection, we'll probably do a full music review on this, but check out the Bad Ups out of Philadelphia, especially considering Philadelphia, the birthplace of my wife, as well, helped to deliver this election to the right side of history, I would say. Like, I'm not a huge Biden fan, but it's the right side of history. So check out the Bad Ups. Travis McHale, who has a connection to the Barstool Preachers. Actually, every time I've seen the Barstool Preachers live, Travis was playing guitar with the Preachers. But check them out, the Bad Ups out of Philly. I'm sure we'll do a music recommendation at some point. I got to catch up on those and get back to getting those out there because we got a lot of them. And speaking of those, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you're going to find a lot of that stuff. Head over to youtube.com, search Go Tell It to the Wall, and subscribe. And, of course, our Facebook page, facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. My own personal Instagram account, which is @SoCalSean. Check that out. Check out my awesome pictures. I don't know. I used to be a photographer. I can't keep up with all this, I'm definitely not cool enough, I guess you could say, on Instagram, but follow me anyway. There's some good stuff up there. Most importantly would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. And if you can, help us out on Patreon and get yourself some merch. The weather's getting cold. You could use a Go Tell It to the Wall sweatshirt, I'm sure. All right, that's going to do it for us. This has been episode 25 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall and me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. We will be back next week, same wall place, same wall time. Might have a little bit of fun with it because next week maybe we'll just call it my birthday episode. It's going to be 3 days before my birthday. My birthday's on November 18th. I like band merch and Vans, shoes. So, you know, if you're looking to send me anything for my birthday, that would be the direction to go. Band merch and Vans shoes. Love it. That being said, like I said, we will be back next week. Same wall place, same wall time. And until then, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers, remember, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, and especially no matter why you are doing it, always use common sense.